As the collected memorabilia keeps coming to the museum, what is an item of representation in your tenure that really blew the researchers and staff away as far as its position and intimacy associated with November 22nd?
Well, I love all the artifacts equally, so they're all my children. We value these mementos and documents and clothing. I mean, these things that are palpably associative with the event of the assassination. But I suppose if I have to choose one that has that kind of infusion of historical meaning, it would be Lee Harvey Oswald's wedding ring, which is upstairs.
Yes.
That ring, even though it's the smallest artifact on the 6th floor, it holds the most potent meaning for people, researchers, staff members, historians, because of course the story behind it. Oswald tries to reconcile with Marina the night before the assassination. She resists, fully intending to eventually reconcile, but not ready at that moment.
Right.
He goes to bed angry, gets up the next morning, and famously leaves behind most of their savings and leaves that ring behind in the teacup and goes to work with a package wrapped in brown paper. Walks into this building, freshly turned 24-year-old in the midst of a disintegrating marriage and a confused political ideology, and you look at that ring and you think, maybe this is the act of a man who knows he's not going to come home again. And maybe that this huge story, which for so many people involves the CIA and the Mafia and Lyndon Johnson and the FBI and the Dallas Police and Texas oilmen, just maybe, it all comes down to a disgruntled ex-Marine who is trapped.
Who sees an opportunity.
He's trapped in a menial job making $1.25 an hour as an order filler with delusions of grandeur. His relationship with his wife is falling apart. He has a rifle and the president's coming by his building. And maybe this is Oswald's opportunity to make something of himself by shooting not John F. Kennedy, but the United States of America. And that ring is that Rosetta Stone that provides the slimmest of windows into Oswald's mindset. Because if Oswald was innocent, if he was not in any way involved in the assassination, you've still got to reconcile his actions, the evidence, and that ring is paramount.
How did the museum acquire the ring?
Well, we don't often talk about the specifics of how we acquire certain artifacts, but we do have a majority of our artifacts donated by
collectors,
very, very generous people who have either collected them themselves or the key participants. A good example of that would be just this last year, less than a year ago, the last surviving Dallas Police homicide detective, Elmer Boyd, who is now 97. I've known Elmer for upwards of 15 to 20 years, and he knows I've always wanted his collection. And just before he kind of shifted into hospice care, facing the conclusion of his life, he wanted to make sure that his collection was here. And so he donated the hat he was wearing, his famous homicide detective hat that all of Captain Will Fritz's boys wore, his badge, his firearms, and the handcuffs. And so that hat and handcuffs, in probably the second most famous picture of Oswald taken that weekend, besides the shooting of Oswald by Jack Ruby, is this picture where Oswald's got his hands up. And so we have those handcuffs and the hat that Boyd is wearing standing right next to Oswald, donated by the man himself. And so, I mean, sometimes those stories are extraordinary, but people provide to the museum in unique and often profound ways.